GameStop has been in its death throes for a long time now. Their stock values plummeting, massive layoffs, store closures. There have been several attempts to sell the company off entirely, but no one wants this trash, not even for pennies on the dollar. Ironic, it being GameStop. And now, in what appears to be sort of a last-ditch effort to save the company, they've called in the big guns and brought in the former Nintendo of America president, Reggie Fils-Aime, on their board of directors to help save the company. The board refreshment and governance enhancements announced today represent an important milestone in GameStop's transformation as we continue to evolve the company's business strategy for long-term success, said GameStop Chief Executive George Sherman. In response to the announcement, Reggie himself said, "The gaming industry needs a healthy and vibrant GameStop." Well, I don't know about that. I look forward to being a part of GameStop Corporation board and helping make this happen. But can even the Reginator salvage this dumpster fire of a company? And what steps could he, as well as, the rest of the board, the other new members they've brought on, do to achieve this? Well, let's talk about it. First thing, we have to acknowledge what a disaster of a situation we're dealing with here. GameStop has quite an identity problem, in my opinion. It used to be the place to trade in and buy used games. That's where the real money has been for them. You know the meme, you bring in a game that came out last week, they give you $20 for it and slap a $55 price tag on it and put it on the shelf before you even walk out the door. A lot of money to be made doing that, but they're not seeing as much of that these days. I think there are two reasons for that, really. One, the rise of digital games. More and more people are buying their games digitally these days, which clearly you can't sell after buying. So that's taking a ton of potential suckers for them to scam off the table right away. Also, the internet factor. I traded games in myself at GameStop when I was younger until I realized I could just sell them on eBay for close to what they go for at GameStop and get more money for them, cut out the middleman. People are more tech savvy today than ever before, so I think more and more are going that route. Again, cutting out the middleman and selling their games online, whether it be eBay or some other site. This has led GameStop to selling all sorts of other shit, statues, Funko Pops. God, Funko Pops are just, they're a sign of failing specialty stores, aren't they? It's similar with comic shops. They're all filled with Funko Pops these days. Granted, the problem for comic shops these days is more so the majority of the comics Marvel and DC put out today just being completely awful, not even worth the paper they're printed on, but that's a different discussion. But yeah, the last time I went into a GameStop, I was like, where am I? This doesn't even feel like a game store. They're just trying to sell whatever they can, and I think that's a big turnoff for people who are looking for a dedicated game store. Now, they have tried some new stuff in the gaming arena, like selling retro games, which I think it's a good idea, but they quickly became known for terrible quality control in that arena, selling defective games, sending you the wrong game repro cards, games that had, like the wrong sticker on them, so it might be the sticker for one game, but when you put it in, it was actually a different game. Total disaster. I'd personally never buy any retro stuff from them just because of the horror stories I've heard. So nothing they've tried has actually helped things and has led to steep drops in the stock price. Oh, those stock values, boys. Just to make sure you all understand how significant of a stock drop we're talking about here, let's take a quick look at GameStop's stock history, fairly recent stock history. Back in March of 2015, they had a valuation of $40.70 per share, and it has just been a steady, steep decline to today, where the stock is now worth a whopping $3.70 per share. Yeah, they got a lot of problems. So what could Reggie actually do here? Well, obviously his ties to the gaming industry, specifically Nintendo, are what made them bring him on. So I'd probably start there. You need to stand out if you're going to bring people into these stores. You could do that with stuff like exclusive demos. I'm going to stick with Nintendo for examples, but I'm sure someone like Reggie wouldn't have trouble getting people at Microsoft, Sony, surely any other third-party devs to take his calls as well. But you look at the upcoming games, something like a Metroid Prime 4, let's say. Stick a 20-minute or so demo in stores leading up to release. I don't know about things right now with the virus that will remain nameless. Right now, I sure wouldn't want to go somewhere and touch controllers that a bunch of filthy kids already wiped their noses on, probably licked. But down the line, sure. Also, more exclusives. I was thinking when this news broke that I haven't bought a game at GameStop for years, except for the Resident Evil games, the recent ones, and that's because GameStop has collector's editions for these games that are exclusive to them, so I buy the games there. It gets me to go on the site, maybe if it's only available for pickup in store, it forces me to go into the store. Again, if they could set something up with Nintendo in that arena, something like a Breath of the Wild 2 exclusive collector's edition, that would sell out in about 5 minutes, I think. And once more, Reggie definitely has the connections to make that stuff happen. But those sorts of things just, like I said, get people in the door. The challenge then becomes, how do you get them to stay, to return? There's been some testing at some GameStops with this sort of internet cafe idea where you can come and play games there, I guess. This sort of makes sense. I kind of like it. I don't know how it all works, like what you're able to play, how much time you get and stuff like that, but being an older person that remembers the old Funko-Land days, it'd be nice if you were able to actually play and try games before you buy them. That was a big drawback then, with used games specifically. Something catches your eye, fire it up on one of their machines, play it for like 20 minutes or so in the store to see if you like it, as well as test to make sure the game actually works, make sure it's the right game. I think that's kind of enticing. Also, this could bring more of a social aspect with activities to the store, having things like tournaments. Again, maybe with Reggie's connections, you could get some sponsored tournaments in the store. Man, something like Smash Brothers, right? Even if the winnings only amount to like maybe a free game or a controller or something. I'm just thinking of things that could bring people in that really isn't being done elsewhere. It's sort of like your card and board game stores or, again, comic shops. Part of what brings people into those specialty stores specifically is the social aspect of being able to hang around, BS with people about these hobbies you enjoy, play against them, with them. I think there is potential in something like that, but it's hard to say how viable that actually would be, again, in current year. Someone, again, like myself, I grew up in an age of arcades and stuff like that where we wanted to go out and converse with people, but we're in the social media age where most people, especially young people, would rather text than even talk on the phone, certainly face-to-face. I don't know how well that would actually do with drawing younger people in. That's the crowd you need. Definitely let me know in the comments if you're like a teenager or something like that. If they were doing more of these social community events at, say, a GameStop, tournaments and what have you, is that something you'd be interested in going to regularly? Because again, just a one-off isn't really going to do anything for them. You got to build that community aspect. I think it would have definitely worked in like the mid-2000s or so. But yeah, I don't know about now. Today's kids, they want to sit in the comfort of their own home where they can scream racial slurs at the top of their lungs at each other on Fortnite. The only other thing I can really think of is just giving people better deals. The simplest thing and idea, not as simple in terms of practice, whether it be selling the used games for less or buying used games for more. They have the membership card thing. I know that you pay like a monthly or annual fee and you get better deals. Make that an even bigger discount, maybe even for new games. That was what, for a few years there, had me buying all my games at Best Buy when they had the Gamers Club Unlocked that gave you 20% off all new games. Just was a steal. Now, maybe not a discount that steep, but something, again, that helps people get in the door regularly and maybe pick up other stuff there, like, you go in there, if you're buying all your new games at a store, you're probably checking out the used game shelf and all that. Something like that. When people can get these games anywhere, when Amazon, most people have Amazon Prime, free 2-day shipping, you need incentives for people to buy specifically at your store. What can you offer that the others aren't? And honestly, with the position they're in, I don't see them doing significant discounts until the inevitable going out of business sale. And that's why I don't think there's really much they can do, even Reggie can do, to save this. Maybe he can pull out some tricks, call in some favors to slow the decline, but still, it's not like he's going to be in charge of the company. He'll just be one of many people. There are still many people on this board involved in the company that were the ones that let things get into this situation in the first place. Their bread and butter, the used game sales, again, with, like I said, the digital, the internet stuff, I just don't see those sales ever coming back I think bringing in Reggie, some of these other board members perhaps, will be a relief, a sign of hope for some people in the company. I don't think it was a coincidence that this announcement was made the day of this big stock market crash. Sure, they've been in talks with Reggie and the others about this for a while, but I think they chose to push the announcement out now to alleviate some of the damage because everybody's stocks are tanking right now. And that's what I think in the long run, Reggie joining the company really is. It's like a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound. He's not going to save it, and honestly, I don't think the company is worth saving. He said in his tweet, like, oh, the industry, it needs a thriving GameStop or whatever. Why? If GameStop closed tomorrow, what really changes? And I know there are plenty of people out there who have nostalgia for it, grew up going to GameStop, and they're all like, it's the only dedicated video game store by me. I don't want to see that go away. But yeah, remember, if GameStop is the only dedicated video game store by you, it's because of GameStop. They're a big company that swooped in, bought up, or drove out a lot of the competition. And that's why if you have a GameStop in your area, there's a good chance you don't have an alternative. Once more, I think there are some things someone like Reggie could do to slow the bleeding, but I think GameStop already has that stigma to the point where most people just don't want to do business there. I'm certainly in that camp. I personally don't think anything, again, outside of steep discounts or more of these exclusive type releases is going to make me want to go back. And the people who currently shop there clearly aren't nearly enough. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on Reggie joining GameStop in the comments. What do you think he could do to help the company out? And do you think they can actually be saved? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of Reggie joining GameStop. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter @JohnnyZakari and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.